A former professional fundraiser for the Scottsdale Center for the Arts and the Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation, Senator Carolyn Allen's love of the arts began in grade school.
My interest in the arts started in the 3rd grade, sitting on the end of the 3rd row when the teacher gave me a quarter that we didn't have for me to go to watch live theater. And it was Peter Pan, and I really did think Peter Pan was flying. I want every child to have an opportunity to experience the arts when they're young so that they can, as I did, fall in love with the arts so that we can have a very viable arts community here in this state.
Today, she is known as a tireless advocate for arts funding.
I think that the economic development that we so often and seriously talk about here in Arizona, that there has to be the understanding and not a disconnect that if we're going to entice businesses to move here, that the cultural environment is very important, particularly if you're talking about major industries that come here.
She readily admits her single most important feat at the legislature, involving arts and humanities, is being relentless.
If they don't include it in the budget, I won't vote for the budget. And the last 2 years, we were able to complete that $20 million arts endowment by the last $7 million. And I was told, I did not hear it, but I was told, they said, give it to her so she'll leave us alone. So now we have our $20 million arts endowment money.
The goal of the Arizona Chamber of Commerce and Industry is to propose and execute public policy to help businesses excel.
We're the fastest growing state in the country, so that's a pretty good indication that there's a lot of things right about this state. But with that said, it's a very competitive environment, not just from our regional competitors like California, but also internationally. And the one thing that the Arizona Chamber tries to keep itself focused on is to create the most competitive policies that we can, so that Arizona can continue to thrive and to advance.
The past year, the Chamber went through a number of changes.
In addition to the merger with the Arizona Association of Industries, which is, in my opinion, a very big deal, given the important role that manufacturers play in the state's economy, I'm also very proud of the team that we've put together.
And when it came time to lobby at the legislature, the Chamber had a place at the table.
I felt that the Arizona Chamber was in the middle and was playing a very positive force on all of the big issues of the day, whether it was workers' compensation reform or immigration. The Arizona Chamber was right in the middle of the huddle.
Kevin McCarthy is president of the Arizona Tax Research Association, or ATRA, a statewide taxpayer watchdog organization.
Well, my proudest achievement is probably maintaining the strength of the organization. It's a 65-year-old organization. I've worked there now for 21 years, been the president for the last 16 years.
Initially, taxes weren't his passion, but ATRA was a platform to a field he wanted to work in.
And when I went to work at Arizona Tax Research, I was more interested in getting closer to state government and politics associated with that, and Arizona Tax Research Association was an avenue to do that. And in short order, kind of fell in love with the role that public finance plays in politics. It is, they're inextricably linked.
Equity and fairness, you could say, are hallmarks he lives by.
There's an old saying that people don't pay, they don't pay attention. There's a lot of truth to that. And so the more people that are in the system paying low, equitable rates, I think the better government you have in the long run.
The Arizona Business and Education Coalition is a nonprofit membership organization whose mission is to educate about public policy issues surrounding K-12 public schools.
It was formed about 5 years ago by a number of business and education leaders, and the goal is to find common ground on important K-12 public education issues and educate others and influence public policy across the state because of the interrelationship between good public schools and economic development. There's a strong relationship there.
One of ABEC's programs is the Arizona Academic Scholars Initiative.
ABEC is focused on public policy, not on program. But we also saw that this initiative would give us an opportunity to do some hands-on work in local public schools that would ultimately, we hoped, affect public policy.
And through her work with ABEC and lobbying at the legislature, Susan has had a couple of aha moments.
There is nothing more exciting or rewarding if you are a believer in consensus and common good than to have a room full of very influential business leaders and education leaders discussing issues of the future and discussing issues of public policy and education. And all of a sudden they all say, you know what, we all agree on that. Let's do something. That is a very rewarding experience.
Gallagher and Kennedy shareholder David Kimball is a practicing environmental attorney. He spends a fair amount of his time actively involved in legislation at the Capitol.
I've been practicing for 30 years in the environmental area, and in public policy I have been actively involved at the legislature and at the legislature as well as in rulemaking for that entire period of time, and have been involved in most of the significant environmental changes, laws, rules, and regulations.
From the Arizona Chamber of Commerce, the Arizona Association of Industries, the Greater Phoenix Chamber of Commerce, Arizona Rock Products, and the Arizona Mine Association, David is very involved.
Time's a problem. The time commitment is significant, and fortunately I have family that understands that and allows me to make the time. Why do I do it? I mean, I'm a fifth-generation Arizonan, so I really believe there is a need to have a strong economy in order to maintain what I truly believe is one of the most beautiful places to live. And so it's probably more of a personal drive, a personal commitment from a cultural heritage that I think appreciates what we have here in Arizona.
And his environmental victories are numerous, yet one stands out.
That's tough because there's been a lot of areas of major, I consider, improvement. The Water Quality Assurance Revolving Fund, the funding of that to provide a significant level of funding every year to address contaminated sites where the parties responsible are no longer around to take care of them themselves, I think is a major accomplishment.
Prior to being elected to the legislature, Senator Bob Burns was in the child care business with his wife. One day, he decided it was time to get involved.
It became evident to me that we needed to have a presence at the legislature. I volunteered to work in our operators associations to be able to keep on top of what was going on.
So he became a volunteer lobbyist, became District 17 chairman, and then was elected to the legislature. He has the distinction of being the Senate Appropriations Chair.
Well, I guess it's a never-ending challenge, really. I try to convince my constituents that my goal at the legislature is to be a gatekeeper and not a gift giver. And when you're in the position of the appropriations chairmanship, that means you need to be able to tell people that, sorry, we don't have the resources to do all the things that people want to do.
Creating an Arizona security office to combat ID theft, the telemedicine program, and helping establish the Government Information Technology Agency are just a few of the things Senator Burns has fought for and won.
Goals that I've kind of had as I've gone through my career at the legislature, again, is the fiscal responsibility, holding the lid on the spending. But also, one of my key concerns coming into the process was due process for the citizen.
Hospice of the Valley is celebrating its 30th anniversary. Over the last 3 decades, it has evolved as a national leader in end-of-life care.
Well, we started as a little tiny ma and pa 30 years ago, and we've grown into the largest hospice agency in the country. And the wonderful thing about that is that was not by design.
And as hospice has grown, it has been a key player in helping to advance public policy through its Healthcare Decisions program and the Piper Grant.
And the educating of physicians through our Piper Grant has been extremely helpful in altering public policy as determined by what do you expect from your healthcare system, and then what is your insurance going to pay for. All insurances now cover hospice care because we've been so assertive that Medicaid and private insurance, for sure, cover hospice care.
Since its inception, Hospice of the Valley has served more than 82,000 patients.
Thank you for trusting us to take care of your loved ones. Thank you for allowing us the privilege of being in your homes. It is a privilege, you know, to do this kind of work, a really special privilege. And the trust that is placed in us is it's a large and a very much appreciated trust.
Rebecca Friend is the first woman president to lead the Arizona AFLCIO, an umbrella organization for 200 unions.
I think that for me, it hasn't been any different than the work I've been doing my entire labor career, which is over 30 years. I think the difference may be for other people outside looking in, or even for some of the labor members, but for me, it's the same work. I just happen to be a woman.
Friend also helped found Emerge Arizona, a program dedicated to inspiring, training, and recruiting Democratic women from non-traditional sources to run for office.
I also think what you get from Emerge for Women is this great network of women, successful, educated, powerful women that you can connect with and help you as you go along your path.
During session, the AFLCIO is a constant voice at the Capitol.
The accomplishment I'm most proud of would be the minimum wage initiative. And because that impacts the community, not just labor. In fact, there is no one in a union job making minimum wage. That's part of the contract and negotiation process. But the fact that that helps the whole community and raises all boats is very powerful for me.
What makes the job most rewarding for Rebecca is the ability to make a difference at the end of the day.
We all want to provide a better life for our family than was given to us. Even if we had a great life, we always want better for our children, and to allow them to have health care and benefits and job security, it's an overwhelming experience for me every time that happens.
Maricopa County Attorney Andrew Thomas took office in 2005. He came in pledging to make changes, immediately instituting a pledge, "Let justice be done."
I wanted to crack down on violent crime. I wanted to end plea bargaining as we know it for serious violent criminals, and we've done that by instituting a plead to the lead policy. Anyone who's charged with one of the most serious violent offenses has to plead guilty to the most serious charge or go to trial, and that has been successful, and I've been pleased to follow through on that.
As county attorney, he helps to advance public policy and is a staunch advocate for crime victims.
We try to provide leadership, and here I'm talking about people outside the legislature. We try to provide a consistent presence for law enforcement interests across the board, and we don't shrink from the tough issues.
Among his greatest accomplishments to date, fulfilling pledges to improve public safety in Maricopa County.
Those are important reforms, and I think from a national standpoint, we have set a standard in terms of cracking down on plea bargaining and violent crimes, in terms of making sure that people who commit a dangerous crime against a child don't just get a little bit of jail and then are sent back out into our streets. They go to prison.
When her daughter was diagnosed with autism at 14 months old, Gretchen Jacobs, a lobbyist with Greenberg Traurig, decided she wanted to make a difference and help other parents.
I was shocked at some of the things that parents were having to go through, and so spurred on by the fact that I couldn't do a lot of help for my daughter immediately, I decided I wanted to make a big difference for other people in Arizona. I thought that was empowering to me to try to help others.
Jacobs had contemplated moving out of state to get her daughter the care she needed. But then she decided to stay and lobby for autism on a pro bono basis.
I'm getting a lot of credit for doing a lot when really the legislature and the governor stepped up and made a big commitment to helping families like mine and families who are in difficult circumstances to improve the quality of service in Arizona for families and children with autism. So I'm very grateful.
Now the Center for Autism and Related Disorders has a presence in Arizona, and Jacob's daughter is doing great.
She is 3.5, and she has come so far that if she doesn't get any further than this, I'm so happy. I'm very proud of her and just feel relief, tremendous relief.
Technology and innovation are an important part of state government and Government Information Technology Agency, also known as GITA. It is credited with executing a strong vision for the future.
The agency was founded in 1996, and we just went through our 10-year sunset review. And at its core, the mission of the agency is to advance technology throughout state government and act as an oversight agency to make sure that our colleagues across state government are hitting the mark on time, on budget for state projects.
Chris Komeski, GITA's Director and Chief Information Officer for the state, says the agency has improved government efficiency and made state government more accessible to the public.
We actually serve in many respects as a IT consulting and management firm, and we go out and work with the agencies to make sure that their projects are on time and on budget and doing the things that they promise the taxpayers.
GITA also helps out in emergencies like Katrina and wildfires.
211 has become a vehicle for citizens to get up-to-date information on disasters and emergencies. And so we think that that's been a good contribution that we've made, and there's certainly more to come.
And one of GITA's most exciting partnerships this year was with Google.
They selected 4 states, California, Utah, Virginia, and Arizona, to participate in a pilot program to basically work to make government records more accessible to the public. And it was an exciting endeavor because Google hadn't done this before.
Gary Hayes led the regional effort to win legislative and voter approval of the Regional Transportation Authority plan in Pima County.
This is really an initiative that has many fingerprints on it. Certainly the elected leadership, Mayor Bob Walk up in Tucson, Supervisor Ramon Valadez from Pima County, and Cy Shore, who was the first chair of the RTA, had a lot to do with it. Not only the success of the formation, but the success of the voter initiative in May of '06. And basically we have on the table $2.1 million for transportation improvements that didn't exist before.
In order to get the job done, Gary had to juggle his skills as a catalyst and a leader.
You know, one of the key components of the RTA plan, like I said, was to get the advocates and the opponents of previous initiatives all together, all realizing that they're not going to get everything they want out of the plan, but everybody's going to get something.
The effort was vital to the future of Pima County.
We were unsuccessful 4 times in doing this, and Tucson, as opposed to Phoenix, has been behind the mark a little bit in improving our transportation system. Creating the authority and the financial resources to actually improve the transportation system has been a major boon to the region.
Marty Schultz is instrumental in shaping public policy throughout Arizona. As Vice President of Government Affairs for Pinnacle West, he is at the forefront of many important issues.
What you are is a facilitator, maybe a prodder, but you actually have to be able to work with people and encourage people to work with one another in order to get things done.
And get things done has been Marty's motto. He is an advocate for the homeless, transportation, redevelopment of the Capitol Mall, and education. Most recently, he helped secure money to build the Valley Human Services Campus.
I've always been interested in people, and I've always been interested in the substance of the community, but you know, I've gone from infrastructure and improving schools and obviously advocating for my company to helping people who are really less fortunate, and I was pleasantly surprised at myself that I had the capacity to care enough to get out there and knock on doors of friends of mine.
Why is improving the quality of life in Arizona so important?
You know, I could give you a high-sounding answer about, you know, I'm inspired and I have passion, and but I really don't have an answer to that question. I do think it is important to give back to your community and to participate.
Chuck Shipley was a beloved member of the Capitol community whose credibility and humor are missed. He officed with Barry Aarons.
Oh, when I first met Chuck in mid-1980s when we were working on the ballot proposition on telephone deregulation, I was amazed by his enthusiasm, his lightheartedness, and yet his seriousness. He was able to focus on things very well, but he always was able to laugh at circumstances, laugh at himself, and yet maintain his composure in terms of focusing on an issue and making sure he did absolutely the best possible job. Just a darn likable guy.
Chuck was also known for his uncanny ability to dispense the truth even when it was hard to swallow.
I think Chuck was unique in the respect that he was able to answer questions and tell you what he really thought, even if you didn't want to hear it, if you were a legislator or a public official. And yet afterwards, even though he might have been lecturing you a little bit, you walked away and say, boy, he told me the truth.
The father of 2 sons and a friend to many, he is truly missed.
And I think the state will remember him as a man who always wanted to contribute to the betterment of the state of Arizona. And while he may have disagreed with you on how to do that, his commitment to the future of Arizona, his family, his friends, was always going to be his top priority.